What's the title of this or the topic?
I don't really know. All I know is I wanted to sit down and talk to you. That's all.
Is that alright? Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum, brother.
Salam alaikum, Habibi.
Belafia.
Cian Brennan,
Mr. David Chockenty.
lifelong friend.
Lifelong friend from the past into the future.
Past, present, and future.
Inshallah.
Long may it last. Inshallah. Inshallah.
Actually, how was your first impressions? You've been here now for what, 3 days?
3 days.
Friday, full day, Saturday, Sunday. So today's your 4th day.
Yeah, like I was saying to you before, it's first impressions. It's hard to truly have an idea of a place when you've only been here for that length of time. Even if you go on holidays for a week, do you really know the place?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
But first impressions.
What first impressions? On the surface.
On the surface, extremely hot.
Oh, it's hot.
It's hot. So hot. The heat is actually crazy. I love sun as well. I know you do as well.
I do. We both do. We're cut from the same cloth that way.
We are. Just look at this tan already. I'm here 3 days.
3 days.
No, I probably look a bit more red than I do brown, but
Do you have to get red before you get brown?
this is it. Iron sharpens iron. Habibi.
Habibi, you're in the shot as well, definitely.
Yeah, I'm in the shot.
You sure?
There's no going back.
Big
now.
unit. He's a big unit. Oh, shut up.
It's extremely hot, but I love the sun. But I can see how the sun would be a bit much, this level of heat, because it's 36 degrees right now. I can see how that would be a lot all year round.
It feels like 39.
Yeah.
It's always hotter than the temperature. What it says, it's always warmer because of the humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we got into the car there to go get the coffee for this, and my God, it was like sitting in a sauna.
Yeah, literally. The steering wheel, my hands were burning just touching it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the weather, while it's nice, it's like the other extreme of Ireland. Ireland is piss and rain all the time, and now you're somewhere where they could do with a bit of rain, and it's hot, way too hot all the time. But which would you prefer? Ireland's climate? Here?
For me, I would take, even though I don't like to complain about the heat. I try not to, but I would take this any day.
Yeah.
Because my mood is way better. It's blue skies pretty much 320 plus days a year,
Mm-hmm.
sunny. So that makes a massive difference. Even when we used to live in Calgary in Canada, that was a blue sky city as well. And the difference that would make, even in the winter for us, like the winter time when it was like minus 20, but it was blue skies, khalas, it was okay.
They were lovely.
Yeah, because your mood is much better.
Yeah.
So I would definitely choose this over the Irish weather. Sorry, Ireland.
Good for you, man. I know, look, each place is going to have its pros and cons.
Exactly.
So the weather here is, for the most part, good impression. I like it.
The people, what do you think of the people? Like the local people?
The people get a massive plus from me. Great people, I genuinely mean that. I'm going to be as honest and transparent as I can be, like Future. And the people are lovely. Very welcoming. Everyone, going to Core, everybody came up to me and they're like, Blueprint guy,
Yeah.
superstar.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a distinction, I guess, between they're all the Europeans and the trainers and stuff, who are
some are
I guess
Saudi,
there was
Jadawi, some.
I guess there was one or two.
Okay, so we'll get back to your gym, but the people in your gym are very friendly, but the people from Saudi, everybody here as a whole, very positive experiences. Everybody is like smiling at you, happy that you're here. You can clearly tell they're happy that you're here and they almost want to converse with you. And even if they have very little English, they'll try and talk to you. So the people are lovely.
Yeah, I felt the same as well when I first came.
Yeah, really nice. It's funny seeing how, like I was saying to you on this second day, just watching the way people act is very different to anywhere I've ever been.
Would you say they're just people are a bit more maybe reserved?
Reserved.
With how they hold themselves?
Yeah, reserved, good etiquette, almost like everybody's well behaved.
Yeah.
There's no one stepping a
No
foot.
rowdiness.
No rowdiness, no one stepping a foot out of line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how's how's your experience been in Saudi? I'm only a fucking tourist here 3 days.
Yeah, no, my experience has been very positive overall. What I say to people usually is, if I didn't like it here, I probably would have left after the first year.
Yeah.
So I stayed. I'm in my second year. Not quite sure what I'm going to do for the third year, but until this point, no, I do like it here. Like, it's just like you've said with some stuff, it's quite different. Another thing I say is that I feel like it's necessary when you live here to maybe travel every few months just to get out, to come back, because it can just be a little bit, because it's like I don't drink, so it's not like I need to drink, but I think you feel like you need some sort of release just to be out and have a bit of freedom if you want to go to a bar or go to a busy street, or it's just different. It's different. So I feel like I need that release sometimes, travel every few months, and I come back and I'm good to go again.
Yeah, it satisfies that.
Yeah. I feel like if I was to stay here for like 1 year without traveling outside of the kingdom, that it would be pretty intense.
Do you know what though? I would say that's the same. That's the same for anywhere. If you're anywhere, you should probably get out, give yourself a break, go explore.
You should. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because wherever you are, you're going to be in a bubble of some sort.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Where I work is a bit of a bubble too, because it's like a certain community. It's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining, but sometimes it's nice to leave the bubble, burst the bubble, and then come back. Yeah. But no, overall, positive experience. Like you said, I do love the weather here. Even though it gets a bit intense in the summertime, but like there's no winter here. It's not like, it literally stays in the mid-20s, high 20s in the wintertime. What else could you ask for?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what more could you ask for? Enjoying my job out here as well. I start early, finish early. I enjoyed the people that I meet through my job, my clients, the other trainers. Like you said, they're all pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The trainers are all like, it's a nice work environment to work in. I don't dread going to work at all. And then there's like, if you want to go to different parts of Saudi, there's nice places to see. Like I was telling you about, Alula was beautiful. Been to Riyadh twice, which is cool. Taif, which is the mountainous area, and there's probably other places that I still haven't been to as well. So there's lots to see and lots to discover here. So yeah, no, overall my experience has been good.
Is there a big expat Irish community here?
No, not here in Jeddah. I wouldn't say there's a big Irish community. To be honest, there was Neil, who used to work with us, Irish. I met 2 Irish girls when I first came here at a concert, at a music festival. And apart from that, and when my dad came, when Viv came to visit, we met 3 Irish nurses who were visiting from Riyadh. Apart from that though, that's all the Irish that I've met here in Jeddah. Apparently there's a much bigger expat community in Riyadh, which, I don't know, I think I like the fact that there's not many Irish people here.
Do you feel like not being around your typical kind of people and being surrounded by more Saudis, Shidawi, people you wouldn't come across normally unless you move somewhere like here, do you feel like that has impacted you as a person? Do you feel like it's changed you in any way?
It's just made me more, I guess, it's made me like more rounded when it comes to like how to interact with people from this part of the world, this culture. Because I hadn't, like, even living in Canada, I hadn't come across a really, not like connected deeply with anyone really from the Middle East. We would have met people here and there in our travels, but like not too much.
One person,
Cian, I guess, but he's born in Iraq and then grew up in Nigeria and then went to, so like,
yeah.
You know, I wouldn't really consider, I don't even think he'd consider himself, I don't know what he would consider himself, but yeah, so it's been interesting to meet people and to see how they think about the world, and just learn about their culture. Like, it's fucking very different to ours, you know, even just how marriage happens, even the fact that here in Jeddah is like very, very close to Mecca and Medina, the 2 holiest places in Islam. So that's interesting as well to see, you know, because basically we're in like this is a very holy city, you know. The call for prayer goes off 5 times a day. It's the first time I'd ever witnessed that, which is pretty cool. So I think it's made me just more rounded and more like, more of a rounded, cultured individual, I guess you could say.
Okay, so, and prior to coming over here, what were some of the preconceived notions you may have had that were squashed, or maybe they did come to fruition when you came over here?
I think the biggest thing that, like, when I just announced to some people that I was coming here, it's like, oh, Saudi, is that not dangerous? Is that, are you sure? And for me personally, I don't really buy into too much of those preconceived notions. I'm just like, I don't know, maybe it is. Like, let me go and see and find out. So if I was to have that idea, I guess I did hear though back maybe 2 or 3 years ago that a bomb or something was dropped, or something was dropped here in Jeddah, and I remember looking up and being like, okay. So that was maybe, I was a little bit like, I wonder, is there a bit of turmoil there ever, or is it calm? So when I came here, I was definitely like surprised how civilized it is, how calm it is. Like there's no turmoil. It's not like, it seems unlikely that there would ever have been like an attack or something here, even though there was they dropped something 2 or 3 years ago, I think. So that was one preconceived notion. I wasn't expecting the amount of like Western chains to be here. Like they're like remember Tim Hortons? Tim Hortons from fucking Canada, the coffee place, just 5 minutes down the road from here from me.
Robbins, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's,
all
Starbucks.
All of them, you name them, they're all here.
Five Guys, I was surprised to see Five Guys.
They're all here. And then they have all the high-end stuff that's like, stuff that I didn't really know too much of. Like, you'd hear them being like, this one is from London, like high-end restaurants. They're all here as well, from London, New York, LA.
That makes sense.
So I wasn't expecting that either. I wasn't really expecting to find that. I guess I just thought the place would be a bit more underdeveloped, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't expect it to be as like laid back, cool, beachy vibes with palm trees everywhere and that kind of vibe. I didn't really know that was the vibe here. So that's been pretty cool as well. And I wasn't really sure, not having too much experience with Saudi people, honestly. Like we'd met a lot of different types of people, but I never really, from Canada, maybe ran into 1 or 2 Saudis here and there, but never really knew what to expect from them. So then coming here, I guess I just got to know that they're actually like very friendly, very welcoming. Like you would think that they might have a bit of hatred towards Westerners or Americans because of some of the political stuff with the two countries in the past, but they don't. They seem very just good people, happy, and when they're not that biased. Like they actually just treat people based on what they're like, not like what the perception of them is from the outside. That makes sense? So if there's a bad perception of America overall, they don't necessarily think, oh, all Americans are like that. They're like, oh, it's the American government a lot of the time that, I'm fucking dissing the American government here, but that are the problem, not the American people. So yeah, the Saudi people are very like friendly and objective.
And we could all do with taking a leaf out of their books.
Yeah. I mean, they're like all peoples. They're not perfect.
Yeah.
None of us are. But yeah, no, that they would have been definitely some of the preconceived notions that they've kind of. I'm trying to think, is there any the stereotypes that live up to? I guess you think of Saudi Arabia and desert and camels and stuff. Like that's true. There's like camels fucking everywhere when you go outside the city, which is pretty cool. You just see them. Yeah, it's on the side of on the street, and then also camel farms where people own them and they're just like tied up and stuff. When we go quad biking this evening, actually, we'll probably see some camels like nice. All tied up. So yeah, that was definitely a preconceived notion that actually came to fruition. Like that is a stereotype, yeah, that exists.
And how many wives have you now that you're here?
I have 2, and I'm working on a 3rd. I know, I'm joking. We actually can't. I can't as a Catholic, as a Christian, have more than 1.
Yes.
Yeah. If in Islam they can have, I think it's up to 4 wives.
4 wives.
I think it's up to 4. Yeah.
And is that different, the dating scene over here then? And does it work in your favour being a Westerner, being here?
Look, I would say being something different anywhere in the world is going to work to your benefit. So yeah, to that extent, it helps being not from here, definitely. People like something exotic, same as we like something exotic that's not from where we're from.
I like it.
Yeah, even though, you wouldn't say I'm that exotic, but I guess here, because I'm not from here.
Hold on a sec now, my handsome friend. If someone was trying to become a model, what advice would you give them? Because you've done a few modelling gigs since you've been here.
Yeah, look, if I'm to be like completely honest about the modelling thing, I feel like because modelling maybe here is like a new enough thing.
It's new.
Yeah, it's new enough. It is. Okay. Like it's a new enough thing where people are going to modelling shoots and stuff in the last maybe like 3 or 4 years, that like the level to entry, like you don't have to be the most beautiful, attractive, like what I'm 5 foot fucking 8 on a good day with shoes on. You know, I'm not tall, you know. So I think the barrier for entry is maybe a bit lower here for the modeling scene. So you don't need to be like, outstanding. You compare it to maybe the standard of models you might find in Europe. It's like probably a different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just to go back to your original question, it probably does help to be a foreigner here with the dating scene. Yeah, gives you a bit of an advantage.
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah.
Have you had a good time doing those modeling gigs?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, it's like a developing a new skill set, being a bit out of your comfort zone.
I can imagine.
A bit outside your comfort zone, but I was pretty comfortable. I have to say, I wasn't too nervous, and I met some good people as well. It's good. They were good for networking as well, because they don't like. Honestly, they don't pay. It's not like I wasn't doing them for the money. Like I wasn't like I need to pick this up because I need to make some extra cash. Like it wasn't like that at all. And it's out of all of them that I've done, one of them was probably like okay, it was like decently paid. The others like weren't. So it wasn't really about the money. It was more so just about like experience, network, meet some cool people, and like develop a new skill set.
Yeah.
And got some cool photos and stuff with them, and yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How did that even start?
So, one of the old trainers, Neil, the Irish guy, he basically met a girl, and it was one of her friends is a casting. She works for a casting agency. She's a Spanish girl, and she asked this girl to ask Neil, did he know any Europeans who might be looking to do modeling?
Mm-hmm.
And he thought of me straight away. Didn't message me first. He gave my name first, and then he messaged me after. But I was like, it's fine. So gave my details to this girl. She reached out to me. We had some back and forth, sent her some of my details, pictures, and then she was like, okay. And then she started like putting me into consideration for stuff, texting me if I was available. I actually I had to turn down a couple of them because they were during work, and I just couldn't get time off work to go and do them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it wasn't feasible. But yeah, that was how it happened. And then through doing one or two, the people working there took my details, someone else, and then it's just through that.
So through the first one, people reached out to you and got in contact.
Yeah, and then Sophia, the Spanish girl who works at the casting agency, would text me every couple of weeks or whatever and say, hey, we have something, are you available? And she'd send me the details. And then yeah, another guy who reached out to me about the more recent one, he got my number from her as well. And there was another Ukrainian girl who gave my details to people also. But yeah, they seem to always be looking for like, especially Europeans.
That's mad.
Yeah. I mean, look, it makes sense. They're trying to bring, tourism, and so like a lot of Europeans are coming here, so they want it to look like there's Europeans already here.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially how welcoming people are, and just even us walking around, even El Beled, not seeing too many tourists.
That's what I was going. Yeah. So you noticed that actually. You picked up on that. There isn't, because you were asking me as well. Yeah, there isn't that many tourists here. It's not that there is, but like it's not like you go to somewhere in Europe or where it's just full of tourists everywhere. Riyadh is probably has a bit more. I would imagine.
Yeah. When
I was there, even I picked up on it a bit more. You'd see a few more international people, but again, for me, that's not a bad thing. I actually don't mind that.
Yeah.
It's running into it's nice. It's nice to be like what is it? You're a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
No one really
exactly.
knows you.
Yeah.
But it is a small city, I will say though, because I have like, me when I go out, I like to meet people and network and and like I would have went out like on different times and like met people that I met before, and I was like, no way, it's just like 6-7 million people. But someone said to me when I first moved here, they're like, there's a small city, don't worry. They're like, it's a small community. Everyone knows everyone's business here, which is mad for a big city. So yeah.
Which is also mad considering all the stuff that doesn't get put up on social media. Like people barely post their faces.
A lot of people, yeah. It's a closed culture, more so. But yeah, I ran into people that I knew, or someone that knew someone of that, and it's like, oh, it's mad. It's like, yeah.
That is funny. I suppose everywhere's going to have the spots where everybody's going to go to.
True. Also happened to me when I was in Egypt. I met people from Jeddah at the gig that I was at. Just randomly ran into 2 or 3 different girls that I knew. Same in Riyadh when I was at Middle Beast. I met people from Jeddah. It's mad. Yeah.
You've got into a bit of running. Does running make you smaller, or have you always been 5'2"?
Did you have that one written down?
I had that one. I knew you'd like that one.
That's good. That's good.
Brennan, this man has ran a marathon with no preparation.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
That's very true. I decided just like 10 days out of that Riyadh marathon. Riyadh, should be saying it properly. That I just said, fuck it, let me see, can I do a marathon without training for it?
Hold on a sec though. 10 days out from it, where did this thought even come from?
It just crept in one even. I don't know why. Did someone tell me it was on or something? And I just, I guess the last 2-3 years, there's been people like David Goggins, for example, like people who have risen to like fame and stuff, and they kind of change your perception, or they raise the bar for what you think actually might be possible. So I think I had one of those moments.
Okay.
One of those moments where it was like, it wasn't specifically Goggins or anyone there. I didn't watch a video, but it just, I guess that's maybe in our subconscious. And I know one of our good friends, Kev, was big into Rich Roll, this guy who's another ultra marathon runner, and you just hear about these people and you hear about ultra marathons. I guess as well, seeing Kevin he did a full marathon, did an ultra marathon. Maybe he'd done 2 ultra marathons by the time I'd done this one. So I was just like, let me see if I'm capable of doing it without any training. And I knew it would be a challenge, but I think I underestimated how difficult it was going to be, which was probably a good thing, because my naivety, if I'd have known how much I suffered on that day, I don't know if I would have put myself through it. Now, I also fucked up. I mismanaged myself on the day as well. I could have not put myself through as much hardship if I'd have paced myself for the first half, which is where I fucked up. I think back to it and I'm like, if I was to do exactly what I did that day and do that, I would never do that again. I would never make anyone do that, because I don't know. I'm not going to say people wouldn't be able to do it, because who am I to know? But like, what the pain that I had to suffer through for like 13, 15 kilometers, that was just like,
I can only imagine. I tried to go for a run and I was dead after 1K with no preparation.
But it's the deadness of like breath. Maybe you're saying dead as well with your body as well.
It was the body, yeah. The body was just in a lot of pain.
Yeah. It was just like constant, continuous cramp every minute or two, and having to stop and like get through that and then try and run. Yeah, it was just, and I shouldn't have let it get to that point. I was under fueled as well. I found out after I completely under fueled myself. But anyway, I wanted to see if I could do it without training. I completed, and I did. And it was doing it the way I did it was definitely silly. If I had fueled more, paced myself, honestly, without any training, I reckon I could have got through it and did a much better time as well, and it wouldn't have been as grueling as it was. I made it extremely grueling for myself because of my shitty preparation in terms of not pacing myself and not fueling myself enough. To give you an example, I was told by a guy who is an avid runner and ultramarathon runner, a guy I used to tutor on the PT course, Darren Snooks, shout out to you, probably won't see this, but anyway, he messaged me after, and he said, he was asking me some questions, and he was like, mate, for someone who's your body weight, your muscle mass will say, your level of leanness, he's like, you would have wanted to have been consuming 25, I think it was like 40 to 50 grams of carbs every 5 to 10K. And I was just like, what? I probably had like, what I was averaging was maybe, I took 20 grams of carbs after the first like 10K, same again after the second 10K. So it was just way underfueled.
What was your carb source?
The gels and stuff.
Okay.
Like, I should have been taking way more of them at higher dosages and more frequently. And it's no wonder like I was completely cramping up and stuff. And he told me as well how much electrolytes I should have had been taking. And I was way under the mark. Way under the mark. So like, if I'd been fueled properly, I don't think my body would have broken down as soon as it did, and I wouldn't have to suffer through as much. And I went through I did the first half way too fast, man. I did the first half in like an hour and 47 minutes for a half marathon, which is like a pretty good time for a half marathon, but way too fast. Like silly. Like, looking back now, I'm just like, why would I have done that? Like, I got carried away.
Was that just, you just didn't know?
Lack of knowledge. I also didn't feel, this is the thing as well, I didn't feel too tired doing that pace because I was fresh. Mm-hmm. But by the first half then it hit me, and I was like, oh fuck, okay. I just pushed way too. At the time it didn't feel like that, because like, I can run at that pace, and if I'd have finished the race and done a half marathon, I was good. Mm-hmm. I was fine, perfect. But to do another 21 on top of it, after doing that pace.
So it was exactly at the halfway mark. That's when you started.
About 25, 26, I was just like
suffer.
Till the end. It didn't get. I thought, and I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna, because you hear people saying you catch your second wind and you go again. There was no second wind. I just cramped on from then until the fucking end. Just walked,
what was
ran.
cramping?
Hamstrings, quads, calves, my whole lower body. Yeah. It was an intense, but yeah. And then you said to begin that about me getting into running. After that, then I did a bit of running during the Ramadan here, because I just wanted something to basically to get up in the morning. It was way easier to sleep in during that time because we used to work very late, and I found myself the first week sleeping in until like 9 a.m. and I felt like a piece of shit. So I was just like, okay, let me just get up and do a run in the morning. I'll get up at like 7:30 or something and just go and run, and that's what I started doing during Ramadan. But I did too much too quick, and I got a bit of an issue with my heel. Or my Achilles, but yeah, no, I was enjoying doing some of the runs and stuff, and I was enjoying doing it in the heat as well for some reason. It was very uncomfortable, but like I just enjoyed feeling like uncomfortable like that.
Well, you're that type of person.
Yeah.
You love, you're a sicko really, when it comes to pain.
I can be a bit, yeah.
I've told people about this with you, because people always ask, like you tell them, I credit a lot of the way I look. And a lot of my training, I credit that to you. Straight up. Like you're an animal. So I learned a lot from training with you. And do you ever go into, I was planning on like saving some of these training questions towards the end, but now that we're here, do you ever go into a training session? Is there anything you ever say to yourself beforehand? Because like some of my training sessions as of lately, I do, it's almost like subconscious, but I never say it to anyone. But subconsciously I'm saying, how much can I suffer? And usually I have great sessions when I have that mindset.
I personally don't think, that thought doesn't come into my mind. I guess like when I used to train for, when I was training for the bodybuilding shows,
Mm-hmm.
Like you have something in your mind that you're training for, and you're like really pushing your training to like, you don't leave anything unturned, especially even in the off seasons, because you're like, the harder I train here, the more improvement I'm going to make to my physique and stuff.
Yeah.
So back then I used to just train hard, and then when I don't have a goal now specifically like for bodybuilding or anything, it's just, I honestly just feel like it's just something that's inside. It's just a habit, just to still push and train hard, even though I don't necessarily have a reason to. I just like it. I just enjoy it.
And is that purely why you like to run?
Yeah. I won't say I enjoy running really long distances. I actually prefer running shorter distances, because I feel like I'm probably better at running short distances. Like I'm just geared towards it more. The longer distances, I do enjoy the difficulty of it and the mental battle with it, but I still am only like, I have not pushed with long distance running at all, like compared to a lot of people out there. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm some, because I'm not. But yeah, no, I do enjoy the discomfortness with the running, and with the training. The training hard thing has just always just been, it's just there. I feel like it's not that every session I push every session to my limits, but like I still pretty much train hard, like harder than the average person, let's say,
Has running impacted your bodybuilding training at all? Or your physique for that matter?
Like negatively?
Mm-hmm. Positive or negative? What's been your experience?
No.
No?
Not at all, no. I mean, I've only, like, that time during Ramadan when I was actually running, I was running like 3-4 times a week, and still like lifting like 4 or 5 times a week. No, it didn't impact me at all. If anything, it just increased my hunger, so I ate a bit more, because I was burning more energy. That was it. But no, it didn't negatively affect. I might find my legs being a little bit more fatigued going into some of my leg sessions, but like, what can you do? Just suck it up, Just I used to spend a little bit extra time opening up my hips before my leg session. Quads might be a little bit. Doms might be a little bit more, but like it's not stopping me from training legs twice a week.
Okay, so you're a hybrid athlete now.
I guess. But I'm not actually running that much at the minute. I haven't been running since I got back when I travelled to Paris and Egypt. I'd sometimes jump on the treadmill at the end of like an upper body session and just run really fast for like 10 minutes.
I've seen you put up stories like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I enjoy. And I also read a few months back, there's this protocol, 4 sets of 4 minutes. I think it's called, is it not? No, it's not fartlek. It's some Norwegian, I think, technique. And it's supposed to be one of the best techniques for increasing your VO2 max, and all the research that's been coming out recently about increasing your VO2 max and the impacts that it has on your longevity and heart disease and how long you're going to live. So I think doing fast, like they reckon 4 round sets of 4 minutes, where it's 4 minutes, and like obviously you can't go 100% max effort for 4 minutes,
no.
But it's like as close to, so let's say it might be 90% effort, your heart rate is supposed to be really, really high, and you take, I think it's like 2 minutes rest or 4 minutes rest, something like that, and you do that for 4 sets, and it's supposed to be really, really good for increasing your VO2 max. Now I haven't been doing that, like I said, but I like to just jump on and turn the treadmill up, like crank it up gradually, and just like run at a really, really fast pace for as long as I can.
Nice.
Not as long as I can, but like for like 8 to 10 minutes. Yeah, I just really enjoy that.
Nice.
I enjoy that more than doing a long run, to be honest. And the rewards it seems to be for your VO2 max is there's a high reward for like 4x4 is only 16 minutes of work, so 16 minutes of cardiovascular work, intense, but like the return you get on your investment is very high.
And you probably feel like a more rounded individual health-wise.
Yeah, true.
Strength training and running, cardio. Like it's probably something we neglected.
Definitely.
Years.
But you know what? I'm lucky, and I feel like I've definitely maybe because of it might be genetics from my mother's side of the family, because my uncle was a very good endurance marathon runner.
Okay.
And also probably playing soccer at a very high level I was always like very fit.
Yeah.
So I find myself now, even when I don't do cardio, and I'm not boosting my own, whatever you say, blow my own horn.
Yeah.
But like, I'd still be like, when we do stuff in work and I haven't been doing cardio, I'd still be like probably one of the fittest, if not the fittest, beating people who are doing cardio and stuff. So I have good cardio naturally as well, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah. And I also do believe as well, I have no research to back this up.
I love a good anecdote.
But I do believe that like just always training hard in the gym, strength training, just like improves your fitness level as well.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Does, doesn't it?
They go hand in hand. But naturally, if you're not used to running, like I'm not used to running at the moment, but I was doing a lot of running last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing some great runs last year, but I just stopped doing it. If you stop doing something, you're going to lose it.
Of course. Use it or lose it.
Exactly. But I went on a run last week in preparation for this run that you've been on about bringing me on.
Tomorrow.
Which is happening tomorrow.
By the way.
R.I.P. Piggy. I'll be gone. But I tried to do a run. I everything hurt. But I understood. I was like, I'm not running. So why would I expect this is going to feel good or feel the way it should feel?
And as well, I guess like when I'm doing what I'm doing at the minute, which is like not really gaining, trying to get stronger here and there where I can and make progress, and pretty much maintaining. I guess I can probably afford to do like runs and mix it in and do some hybrid type stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas your sole focus or your focus at the moment is get your bench press to 170, get bigger. Running, you could argue that it has a small place in improving your aerobic capacity so that you can recover better between your sets when you're lifting. But it's probably counterintuitive at this point for you to be running.
If I really want to excel
For health.
for health, you could definitely bulk and do cardio and do running.
Yes,
absolutely can.
Yeah.
And if you want to be just a balanced individual,
mm-hmm.
then do that. It would be recommended to do that. But I'm trying to, like you said, I'm trying to get that bench up to something that's...
You're trying to do something that's pretty fucking, like, it's not your everyday person is doing, it's a pretty big, it's a very ambitious goal, and it's like...
It is, because I don't know, I don't even know if I'm actually capable of benching 170 kilos.
Yeah, it's big, yeah.
It's a big goal. So yeah, like that running, what's the saying, like if you try and chase 2 rabbits at once, you're not going to catch either of them. Mm-hmm. So I've let that go a little bit. But now, I am doing a little bit of cardio here and there, but not running. Because, and I think anyone who wants to start maybe running probably should start with some like non-impact aerobic stuff first, like get on a bike, do some treadmill, even just build up your work capacity, your aerobic fitness a little bit before you start running. So I am doing that stuff because I do believe actually having a little bit of cardio in throughout the week is actually going to help my training, and it's going to help me feel good. So if I feel good, I'm probably going to stick to the bulk a little bit longer, whereas if I just felt awful, because there's days where you feel awful, but if I wasn't doing any of that stuff, I'd feel way worse. I'm like, do you know what, this is not worth it. And it would be too hard, and then I'd abandon ship a lot more quicker.
So I guess you're saying you're using tactics to increase your own adherence to your goal.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Self-coaching.
Coach.
But it is a form, like you're doing that yourself. It's what you do with clients as well. Try and develop little tactics to try and get them to stay on track and stick to the plan. Rather than, like you were saying there, if you were to just not run at all, you're probably gonna, or not do any sort of cardio, and just say pigeonhole to running, then you're just gonna get bored or sick of what you're doing and just be like, I'm sick of this, I can't do it, and you stop now. Whereas if you do what you're doing, you can extend it for maybe another 3 months and get more out of it.
Yeah, potentially. That's the hope. But anyways,
3 months maybe. We'll see. How long more? How long more are you going to keep going?
Exactly. It's difficult because like that, the two of us, we would have probably stayed in and around our maintenance. Like we would have maintained a certain level of conditioning
from 2020 anyway. From when you came to Canada, from when I went to Canada in January, you came in July 2020. It was pretty much just like
very consistent. And you could actually, I think the way we were doing things, we could stay there for what seemed like forever.
Yeah.
So this is the first time now where I'm actually taking myself out of that nice comfortable spot where you're looking good, you have a good level of muscle mass, and you can do things like run and all that stuff, and it's a bit easier. It's the first time I've taken myself out of my comfort zone in years, because I haven't done a bulk since I was, 18, 19. I'm now 27. It's been a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, I know there's some discomforts that are going to come with this, so I've kind of accepted that as well, which makes the process a little bit easier to endure. On that though, you're someone who's, for as long as I've known you, you've always maintained great condition. You look good all the time.
From when I was bulking for my bodybuilding.
But that's intentional.
Yes.
You were bulking for your bodybuilding shows, but that was intentional. You look good just all the time. How would you explain to a beginner that you can actually get into this condition and you can actually keep it pretty seamlessly? How would you explain how you do that to a complete beginner watching this?
I guess to use myself as an example, I definitely wouldn't have been able to get to the place that I am at if I hadn't spent a long period of time. For me it was quite long. It doesn't need to be that long for everyone, but I spent like 4 years, 5, 4, whatever it was, of like tracking my calories meticulously, like every day what I put into my body, tracking my body weight meticulously as well every day. Those main two ones, because after doing that and weighing, obviously with tracking, you're weighing all your food and everything, you know exactly what you're putting in. After doing that for so long, I was able to, a bit reluctantly I might add, when I stopped tracking and using my FitnessPal and weighing myself, when I moved to Canada, I still did it for the first few months and then I stopped. And then I was kind of like, okay, this is a transitional period in my life. Bodybuilding is no longer my focus. My focus now is like work, a new country, travel and meeting new people, all that kind of stuff. So it made me relax with the rigidity and the structure and everything has to be like military discipline, like. And then I kind of realized that, like, from all my experience with tracking and everything, that like I was able to like not track but still know roughly how much I'm consuming, how much protein I need to eat each day. And also what I started doing more of was, and I'm not gonna lie, if you want to stay like lean, like year round, you need to listen to your body and your hunger cues. And like for example, I rarely eat until I feel completely full, because I know if I do that a couple of times that I'm starting to push myself into like a calorie surplus, and like I just don't want that. I don't. So you need to listen to, like, I know you might have heard me once or twice since you've been here, just being like, do you know what, man, I'm actually, because I'm listening to myself, I'm like, I'm not actually that hungry. In the past I would have just eaten something for the sake of it, because I'm like, I'm trying to get bigger, but now that's not the way I think. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense. So to summarize, you're doing less work now than you did previously, but in order to get to this point, you had 3 to 4 years of tracking meticulously.
Yeah, we didn't mention during that period, obviously training was like training, sleep, all that stuff was like, but not every person needs to have all those stuff nailed like the way that I used to nail them.
No.
Because the funny thing is, I don't nail that stuff now.
Me neither.
You'd be surprised. Even there's days where and this is another thing as well. This is a pure anecdotal thing, and maybe I've lost a load of muscle tissue, but when I look at myself and I'm in the gym and I'm pumped up, I don't think I have, but I eat less protein, way less protein than I used to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. So that's another one. It's like, I don't want to tell people to eat less protein because like, it's one of the big things that we do want people to focus on is eat their protein target or their goal. For some reason, I've been able to like, maybe it's why though I'm obviously not getting astronomically stronger. You know, my strength level is like slowly increasing, but like it's not like linearly getting like increasing like massively. Maybe that's one of the reasons, but I've noticed that I don't need to nail my protein every day. I don't nail my sleep every day. But one thing that I do still nail is training. That's one thing that's been consistent. It's 4 or 5, mostly 5 times a week, every week.
Okay, what I'd say there, and so that people can take away from that, is before you can break the rules, you need to know them and you need to follow them first. Which you did, you followed a structured plan. You learned everything you needed to do about nutrition, about your lifestyle, about sleep and stress, and you implemented that into your life and you nailed it for a long time.
Yep.
But you took the focus away from nailing things. Like you said, bodybuilding wasn't really the focus for you. You branched out, you wanted to experience a little bit more of life, so you had to focus on travel, work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So now it's like you've carried, just like subconsciously, you've just carried over the tools that you gained in those years where you're quite disciplined, and it sounds like you're more aware, more present when you're eating your meals. So there's no mindless snacking, there's nothing of the sort. If anything, it's the opposite. You're very mindful and conscious of when you're eating your foods, because you're listening to your hunger cues. You're like, do you know what? Even though there's more food left in the plate, I've had enough.
Which is what I would have never. I used to always just have to finish everything. It was just like a bad habit that I had, and until I felt like pretty full. But like, yeah, no, I don't really like feeling like that now. Mm-hmm. And I know if I want to continue looking the way that I look, because I like the way I look and I enjoy, you can probably see in this environment as well, like it's when you're going to the beach and stuff, it's nice to be confident and happy with how you look with your clothes off, and
absolutely,
you're wearing shorts and sleevelesses a lot and stuff. So I just enjoy looking the way that I am, and I feel good at this like weight and this like whatever you want to call it, body composition.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I could run a 10k really fast if I had to tomorrow. Could run a marathon without training technically.
Yeah.
So it's I feel, I guess, healthy while still feeling like, like I look like I lift and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe it's just like it's also maybe in the mind, it's like an evolution that you see with loads of people who start lifting and bodybuilding particularly and compete. They usually do make a turn and they do something that's more functional, later on. It might be, maybe now a lot of people are doing high rocks, that's becoming popular it seems, or they might start doing like long distance running, or maybe they might change to CrossFit or whatever. But there's like this evolution where it's like, now I want to become more like of a well-rounded, not just jacked and like,
I think anybody when they start out doing anything related to fitness, or they want to change the way they look, I think most people start with something extreme first. Would you agree?
As in like an extreme approach or an extreme like modality of training?
Yeah, like either or. Like for example, most people, let's say back home watching this, most people who want to get in shape, they're like, okay, it's post-Christmas, they've had their fill of pints and food, so they're like, I'm going to cut out all the crap completely, and I'm going to start running, and I'm going to start training, and they might start running like 5-6 days a week. So they've cut out all the foods, they've cut out a lot of food groups, and restrict themselves from that stuff completely, and they start running vigorously, going from nothing to that, like amount of intense exercise. And they'll do that, like that's quite extreme. It's too big of a change, and that'll only last about 3 weeks, and then they crash. So that like most people should when that happens, most people should think, okay, that approach didn't work. What do I need to do now? Maybe that was a little extreme. What do I need to do now that's a little bit more manageable, so that I can stick to it a little bit longer going forward, in order to actually get results. Because 3 weeks, even though that was vigorous and intense, and you ate really good for those 3 weeks, it's not enough time to see results, and you felt miserable. So I think people usually go and delve into an extremes first. It's like their first introduction to fitness, and then they try and find like a more sustainable path.
It's almost like they feel like though that they need to do something extreme. It's like if you tell them, it's almost like they're looking for, like, if you tell them, no, you actually don't have to. You don't actually have to do that much. You only have to start training 3 or 4 times a week. You need to just start, reducing the amount of calories that you're eating, increase your protein, tidy up, like maybe stop snacking as much, have some actual set meals that you have in your day, and you can have flexibility within them and eat the foods you enjoy. They're like, no way, that's too good to be true. It's like, it's almost like they think they should be extreme and they need to suffer, they need to cut everything out. But like, it's not the case. But I guess that's why there's people get coaches, and that's why people are, but there probably should be more people maybe preaching that message. I guess there is, though. There has been definitely a shift. You see people online on social media that are preaching that message a lot more. That like, doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can still enjoy the fruits of your labor. But would you say though, with that messaging, that sometimes then what also happens is people think that they can actually get away with too much, and they wonder, why am I not making progress? Because they've probably given themselves too much leeway. Things like a double-edged sword.
Of course, you can take anything to the extreme. You can go either end of anything. So yeah, people probably do. But
how do you find that? How do you find that balance where it's like, enjoy life, but still you need to get your work done, or you still need to? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. I think for the most part, that, like you said there, you have to get your work done. Like, I think you have to be on top of on top of everything you need to be on top of 70 to 80% of the time. And
that's key, actually.
Yeah, and it's not being perfect. It's like these people who are like who want to change their fitness and change the way they look and improve their health, and they're like, okay, cut out everything, go hard on the exercise. They're going 100%, but 100% doesn't last very long. And if it doesn't last very long, it's of no use to you. It really isn't. It doesn't matter if you lost 5 kilos in those 3 weeks. It's going to be put back on, which is a waste of time in a sense. It's a hard lesson. So I would say you need to be 70-80% on top of everything you need to do, and allow yourself to have that 20-30% leeway, where sometimes you won't track, sometimes you'll eat a little bit over your food, and it's okay. Friends might call over, you're going out for drinks, dinner with family, girlfriend, and you might just be like, yeah, I'm going to go over my calories, and that's fine. And I think it's just the perspective of that, because it's either, rarely people are in the middle. It's either I'm going hard, it's all or nothing, and then if they go all and then they've had enough, then it's back to nothing, and it's like, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. So I think it's just finding whatever that balance is. It's not really a balance, because the scales are tipped more towards you have to do everything, you have to stay on top of all the stuff you need to stay on top of, but just allowing yourself to be like, just because I'm trying to be healthier and improve my shape doesn't mean every decision I make throughout the day has to revolve around that. And I think that's something people struggle with.
Yes, and what you said there is the biggest mistake is when people fall off, or they may not even fall off, because I think falling off has a negative sound to it. Yeah. If someone goes out, doesn't track their calories, or they go out and they have a meal out, or they have a few drinks or whatever, it's making sure that they don't just throw the toys out of the pram and say, fuck it, and just stop. No. That's like the worst thing that they can do. You're probably the same. You probably preach. It's like if you do something like that and you have a night out, or you make sure the next day, you just go back if you go to the gym and you train, your session might not be like, you might not hit the numbers that you'd intended to hit, you might not progress the way, but still just go back in and get the session done and just get started again, rather than taking the whole weekend off or just stopping it all. I think if your average person could do that and not just stop, they would make a hell of a lot more progress. But that, look, as coaches though, it's our job to preach this to them and to teach them this, you know?
Yeah, and to gear whatever their plan is, gear it towards them in a way where they can actually integrate it into their lifestyle, as opposed to them completely uprooting their lifestyle and having to change everything about them in order to follow this fitness plan. I think that's where, on the coach's end, that's where we're potentially at fault. I say we because we're coaches, but not we ourselves, because we try and help people integrate this into their lifestyle. But I'd say that's where, on the coach's end, that's where it can go wrong if they give methods and plans that are just too demanding of the person.
Yeah, look, I've been guilty in the past when I was younger, especially with like maybe giving someone a meal plan, you know, when it wasn't the right thing to do. But it's funny, then since I've come out here, I've actually given some clients here, I've tried to explain to them about meal plans and why I don't think they work. Not that they work as in they get people results, but they're not what we're talking about. They're not very integratable into one's lifestyle. But for short periods of time, with some clients out here who have the facility to just have a chef cook every meal and just follow a strict plan, it has worked for me with some of my clients out here with meal plans, even though I explained to them, I'm not a big fan of these long term for you. I don't want this to be it's not the solution long term. But for a short term, for some clients out here, I've had to just kind of go back to doing something that I actually I don't believe in too much as a long term solution. But as a short term solution, it's been working with one or two clients. So now I'm trying to get them into a position now where we come out of being on a meal plan and back to like maybe some sort of maintenance where which is working with one of my clients. He's not following a meal plan and he's eating foods and he's realizing, he's having this eureka moment where he's like, I'm not gaining, but I'm just trying to follow stuff that I've learned from what you've taught me about like what I should be eating. And so it's interesting because I used to give people meal plans when I was younger and then I completely stopped, and now since I came here I've been giving them a little bit reluctantly, but they've worked those and they've achieved a result with a client because they followed it strictly, and it has it's been a great way for them just to control their calorie intake rather than they're not, some people out here, they're just not going to track their food and use a fitness tracking app. They're just not going to do it. They'll tell you straight to your face, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to give everything to my chef and they're going to look after everything, because some of these people don't want to have to deal with that, you know, because
you're just trying to adapt then to that person.
Exactly. Even though I know ultimately for this person a meal plan is not the long-term solution.
However, you're telling them, I don't like this.
Of course, yeah, no, I'm completely upfront with them.
You're still providing the education on the pros and cons of what you're doing, the outcomes, what they're going to look like, and then you're trying to help them find a way. Okay, you follow this now. Let's find a way out of this, because you can't stick to a meal plan forever.
No, you can't.
No, I'd say that's where we've probably evolved a lot as both lifters and coaches, and that's what inspired the blueprint in a lot of ways. Is that more sustainable approach to body transformation? Because you touched on something earlier. You said, I like taking my top off and going to a beach, and I like the fact that I look good. Like, it makes me feel good. I think sometimes people are dishonest with why they want to start going to the gym. I think people think it's almost like too much of a vain pursuit to say they want to look good. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good. And for some people, it might be like they might be going to the gym and they might want to look good because they want to do it for their partner. Maybe they're not having as much intimacy in their relationship as of recent, and they're trying to look better to improve that. So I don't think it's a vain pursuit, and even if it was just, it might even be for something as deep as that. It might just be because I want to look good. That's fine. So you and I come from like a bodybuilding background, and I think that's really cool that's something really cool we offer as coaches, like our insights as bodybuilders, and then taking those insights and putting them into a more sustainable plan. Because I think what that does, and what we've seen it do, is get people incredible results, but not only incredible results in the short term. Now they have the toolkit to go on and sustain that result, which is something you and I are both incredibly passionate about, because that's what we've been able to do, and we've seen all the good that's done for us in the last 5 years.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because when you reference both of our backgrounds being in bodybuilding, a lot of the time in bodybuilding, it's like bodybuilding as a pursuit is not sustainable.
No, it's
and
not.
the aftermath is not sustainable
No.
either. As we both know, you had your first time around the issue a bit more so with gaining weight and stuff, but yeah, no, it is interesting that we've saw the issues or the holes in the bodybuilding in that niche industry and how it fucks up people's relationship with food, eating disorders and all that stuff. So we've seen it, we've experienced it, we've lived through it. So that's a big reason why we have created the blueprint, and we do preach more of like a sustainable approach, especially in the aftermath of like the reverse, or the exit strategy of coming out of, getting yourself into shape. But yeah, I think that is why we're more passionate about it, is because we've both lived it and seen how fucked up the bodybuilding photo shoot prep, even that niche as well, is a bit like that too. But I'm sure, look, there's good coaches out there who can get people out, but there's a lot of coaches who still haven't really adapted. All they know is, okay, I'm going to get you in shape, really low calories, we're going to fucking move you a lot, and then that's it. You're going to get in shape, and then afterwards
I'll get the photos, and then you, bye.
Yeah, which is like, it's not really ethical.
It's
really.
not ethical. No, it's not. It's not. Which is why I love at the top of the Blueprint website where it says where results happen, where people matter, where results happen.
Yeah,
it's true.
No, it's true. Yeah,
it's very true.
Look, anyone who's worked with us personally, either 1-to-1 or online, or even with the Blueprint more recently, like I think they get a sense of the fact that we do actually give a fuck about them, and it's not just. Obviously, it's great for us if we get a result with someone, and it's great to put it online and to market and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, we're upfront about that as well. But it's not just about that. It's like, okay, we want you to get that, but we also want you to learn, be able to do this yourself once you're finished with us. But also, we want to take you out and be able to like maintain and sustain this, rather than just being like, okay, we've got it, we got what we wanted from you. Now, bye bye. It's not us.
No, and even some people might think they want that, but we're still going to educate them anyways. Being like, okay, yeah, you do want to get into this shape, which is great, but there's a way. Even when we get here, even like at the end of your fat loss phase, there's still work to be done after. So you maintain that. You want to maintain that, don't you? Because they never even think about that. I know myself. When I did my first photo shoot, first competition, I wasn't thinking about afterwards. But
because you're so fixated on the present, on the goal.
Exactly. So, and that's why I can resonate with these people when they're going to a personal trainer. They want the end result, and then they want to just bounce. But I'm like, okay, I'm not saying this even just to keep you longer, but there's work to be done after a fat loss phase in order to reverse you out of this a little bit safely, and so that you're in a good spot. You know exactly what to do to keep what you have. But yeah, a lot of people aren't thinking about the aftermath. They're just focus on the end goal.
And maybe I didn't mention it earlier, but something you were saying about what advice would you give to people about maintaining and stuff, like a beginner. Maybe I didn't mention it, but you do still, even if you want to maintain, you still need to have some sort of discipline, like, throughout the week. It's not, you can't just go and have a free for all. There has to be some sort of discipline with your calorie intake. Like, if you know that if you go over by thousands of calories at the weekend and you're trying to maintain, and you do that 2 or 3 weekends in a row, the outcome is not going to be, it's not going to be favorable. You're going to be like, but I look like I'm actually a bit more bloated now, or I put on. So look, there still needs to be some form of discipline, not as much rigidity, but there still needs to be there still needs to be discipline.
But I think if you do things in a way where you enjoy it, I think there's less discipline involved.
That's true.
Like, if you have a training modality you like, whether it's lifting weights, running, high rocks, if you like it, you're more likely to stick to it. If it's not too hectic on your lifestyle, where you're only doing it between 2 and 4 days a week, then you're more likely to stick to it. If you don't restrict food groups and you like the meals you have day to day, then you're more likely to stick to it. Then like it's less a case. It's less like, it's not like your discipline is being tested all the time. Then
True.
you're just making things easier on yourself.
100%. I guess what I'm getting at more is, let's say someone has finished and they've gotten where they want to get to, and then they think that they can just, I'll use beer because beer is a big one in where we're from in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go and they think they want to go, or they think that they can go on the beer every weekend after that and still maintain. It's like, no, you need to have some discipline here. You can't go on the beer every weekend and expect to maintain the result that you've just gotten.
Yeah.
I guess that's more so what I mean from having, you just still need to have some kind of like control.
Absolutely. And like, this is where we're all different, and I can't say just because I think this way everybody else is going to think this way, but I wouldn't enjoy drinking every weekend. I do drink. It's like, it's not too common now compared to when I was in my teens and early 20s. I don't drink as much, but when I do drink, I enjoy it a lot more because it's less frequent. Whereas I know back when I was drinking very frequently every week, deep down I didn't enjoy it. I didn't. So again, that's like, I don't even think that's a discipline thing, just from my point of view. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and look, for the alcohol thing, from my standpoint, because I didn't mention this earlier, but it's probably as well for me, because alcohol is not a factor, it's probably been a bit easier as well for me to maintain, because alcohol, like, you know, if you want to enjoy, it's a lot of calories, and it can,
it's a lot of calories that go down quite easily and quite fast.
Exactly, and it also usually fucks up the next day, or the next day at least. The food choices aren't as good. So luckily, because I don't drink, it's been a bit easier maybe for me, let's say, because I haven't been drinking, to be able to maintain, because alcohol is like, because it's a big issue for a lot of people. It's really, for some people, it's like, it stands in the way, because it's like, oh, but like that means I have to stop going on the beer for a while, or I have to cut back. And for some people, that's a big issue. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, but you don't need, like, alcohol is the same as food. The problem is not food or the alcohol. The problem is the amount you're consuming. So it's not like someone actually needs to cut out the alcohol. You just need to cut back. Like, some people are going out having between, like, some people having 10 to 20 pints and then shots or shorts in one night.
But listen, this is I'll give a little bit of pushback. This is the thing with alcohol that I think is the issue. Some people, I would regard you as maybe one of them who can actually be responsible, but most people are gonna go, and if they have 2 or 3 drinks, that's only the start, and they can't stop at 2 or 3. So that for someone like that, who can go and have 2 or 3 drinks and not leave it there, and then go and have 10 or 15 because they've had those first 2 or 3. Like, I think that person might just be better off not going out and having 2 or 3. If they can't go out and have 2 or 3 drinks, it's going to turn into 10 or 15. Then that's going to be a big problem.
I can't help but view that in the same way as food, like having like 3 biscuits and being like, okay, that's it.
I know, but some people can't do that.
I'm having the pack. I'm having 2 packs.
So and look, and that's probably a deeper
seated.
But that's probably a deeper seated issue though. If someone can't stop at, like, if that's usually, it's like there's something maybe a bit deeper that's going on there.
Well, then you need to talk to someone else about your biscuit or alcohol consumption, and not us. And then at least for us, then if it truly is a trigger thing, then maybe that person is better off avoiding it. For people like that, and I know what you're talking about, for people like that, it's almost good for them to abstain from it completely, even for a short period of time.
100%.
And then see, can you introduce it back in, now that you know you're not completely reliant on it, now that you know you don't need to have this every weekend. Yeah,
and that's I've had to, because I don't want to sit and be like, I don't want to restrict someone from having something, with alcohol especially, but sometimes for some individuals, from what I've seen with alcohol, it's just like, look, I think you might be better off just going through a stint where if it is having this negative detrimental impact every time we've seen what's happening, you're making progress during the week, and then you go on the weekend and you have your drinks, and then everything, you're basically taking 1 step forward during the week and you're taking 1 step backwards at the weekend. So for some people I would be a bit more restrictive, but other people, like I said, like someone like you, I've seen you over the years and the evolution. When I first met you, you probably had a pretty shitty relationship with alcohol. You used to just get fucked up and didn't even think of it. But I've seen you evolve and be like, you can now go out and have 2 or 3 drinks, 2 or 3 pints, and leave it there and be happy out, and it's not going to impact. You'll still be in the gym the next fucking day training hard. Like, you know, it's not. So for someone like you, it doesn't make sense for me to be like, no, restrict alcohol. No, you don't need to restrict alcohol. But for some people, I think it may be necessary.
Yeah, I suppose it's a case by case thing. And
exactly, and that's what coaching is. It's not just like a blanket statement about alcohol. It's like case by case.
Yeah, but I suppose a lot of what we're touching on comes back to self-awareness. Even with you, what you were saying, how what's helping you maintain the shape you're in is just if you're eating, and then just being cognizant of your hunger cues, and like, I'm full, I'm not going to have any more.
Yeah, to give you an example, usually when I have my pizza on a Wednesday, the next day for like, I'm usually not that hungry until like 12 or 1. So like, I won't eat my first meal until I get hungry. Whereas usually on a normal day, it also depends on my work schedule, but like 10 or 11 would usually be when I have my first meal. But after I have that pizza that day, I'm not ready to eat earlier on in the day, so I wait until I'm hungry. In the past, I always would have been like, it's 10 a.m, I need to eat, and I'm going to eat no matter how I feel. So yeah, that's just another example of like just listening to your. And sometimes we think we're actually hungry, but when you start to do some fasting, you realize that like, okay, maybe it's not just hunger. Maybe I think I'm hungry, whereas sometimes it's just your body's it's giving you a little cue because you're used to eating at that time. But if you sometimes just sit with it, maybe drink some water, let it pass, you're like, okay, maybe I'm not actually hungry, I don't actually need to eat.
Again, that's self-awareness.
Yeah,
that's coming back to that. It's like just taking a moment to sit and listen and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that came with time though. I wasn't like that when I first started.
No, I wouldn't be there, and I probably still struggle at times with that as well. I want to check if it's still recording. Oh yeah, it's recording. We're an hour and 7 minutes in.
Wow, you didn't even look at your phone for any of the questions, did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to. So back home at the moment, and probably all over the world, bodybuilding and photo shoots are more popular than ever, which I'm sure is actually maybe you would have thought differently, that you might have thought that stuff might have died down a bit. Yes or no?
Yeah. I did because I did because when we were doing shows and competing and photo shoots, whatever we started in 2016, I think it was 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
My first show was 2016. It was all the rage. It was big-ish back then, and then it kind of surged, and then I didn't really hear too much about it. I guess we traveled as well to Canada. We kind of got out of the bubble.
Yes.
And definitely didn't see as much. Now I still feel like I'm kind of out of the bubble, to be honest. It's because I'm learning a lot of this from you that I didn't even realize it's now as big and as popular as it is. Again, there's been a resurgence, which is interesting, yeah, because I'm out of the loop and I don't have like I feel like I've like ran my course with bodybuilding and everything. Now that might change in the future, but yeah, no, it's interesting to hear that it's made a resurgence again.
Yeah, so someone who's went from almost being a student to a master, and I say master as you're always going to be a student in some sense, always, and that's what's going to keep you on your toes and
humble.
Yeah, but you were the national bodybuilding champion of 2018. Like you won your class, and then you won the overall of the whole show, and then you went on to place second and third in both of your respective categories in LA at Worlds at WNBF.
Sharp.
I was there.
You're sharp though.
It's
a long time ago.
It's a long time ago, but I was there, and they were incredible moments. Huge moments, massive achievements for you. You had a lot of success in bodybuilding. There's two things I want to touch on, but what advice would you give to someone who wants to have the same success in bodybuilding now, who is almost like a beginner intermediate? What advice would you have for them if they're looking to start competing?
That's a fucking good question. Okay, so the first thing I would say is don't do it for anyone else. Don't do it for the exterior. don't do it. Sure, it's probably going to help your social media if you're like getting into social media and trying to get a following, but don't do it solely for that purpose, because with bodybuilding and stuff, that shit gets hard and it gets tough, and having something as like fickle or as shallow maybe as just to get more follows and likes, it's probably not enough to get you through when those hard times come. So that'd be the first thing. Don't do it just for that. Do it for yourself, or do it for like as a if you really want to like achieve and be a winner and win something and put your dedication towards something to win, then I think you're going to be better served doing it for yourself rather than doing it for others in the exterior and online. That's the first thing. The second thing is, don't be afraid of also delaying the process. So what I mean by that is, like, don't go and do it, like, don't think you have to go and do it right now, right here, right now, especially if you're starting out and you're still young. You probably haven't really built a physique, you probably haven't built too much muscle, so if you were to diet down, you probably, not to sound like an asshole, but you'd probably look like a piece of shit or a string bean, or you wouldn't you wouldn't look like much. So don't be afraid to give yourself a year or two, have some delayed gratification, build a base, build a foundation, and then go and do it. Obviously it's more difficult to do that, to delay the gratification, but for me personally, I did that when I went to see my best friend at the time, Adam Murphy, compete in 2014. I went to see him and I got a taste and I was like, I want to do this, but I didn't actually compete until 2016 because I was realistic with myself. I was like, I need to fucking build a bit of a physique here. I can't go just next year, I'll be too underdeveloped. So I gave myself an extra year, and it probably paid off. So those would be my two main pieces of advice. Don't get into it for the wrong reason, and also don't be afraid to give yourself some extra time. You don't have to do it like straight away, even though I understand the temptation because it's popular and everyone is doing it. You want to be in on it and you want to get those pictures and but if you want to have real true success, like what I did in 2018, it took me 3 years to get that. I had to compete 3 years consecutively to get to that, and I was okay with that. I was willing to keep going and chipping away, because I just wanted to, for me, I think the biggest thing was to replace the competitive edge that I lost when I used to play soccer. I lost that competitiveness that I used to compete with. So I need to find something else, and bodybuilding was what I found, and it was something that I felt like I didn't need to rely on other people. I was just solely relying on myself, which I liked, and it was more just like this like battle with myself to be a winner and to win something and to achieve something. So yeah, don't be afraid to give yourself a bit more time.
I think it's great advice. Your 2 points tie so well. They go well with each other, because if you really want it for yourself, then you'll have no problem delaying competing this year for the following year or the following next 2 years. Mm-hmm. If you really want it, you will, and you want true success, you will delay it.
Yeah, that's if you want true success. If you don't really care too much, if you don't want to actually be a winner, then you could probably just go and compete and look, not great. Get the experience, get the pictures, if you're okay with that. But you're asking specifically if they want to actually win, and be successful.
Yeah, good advice.
Then don't do that.
You started lifting when you were 15 years of age, 16?
Yeah, 15. Probably 15.
You got some. You started lifting out of a place of almost shame, because you were told you were too small for soccer. You were playing soccer at quite a high level, and there was like the last cut to make it. I think you were going to Dubai. You were going to play a game in Dubai or somewhere along those lines. Qatar. And you were told you were too small.
Yeah.
That drove you on to start in the gym.
Yep. That's why I started. I was told that I had all the technical ability. Was actually one of the most technically gifted players in the country at my age at that time. But I just physically didn't have the strength. So yeah, that was what inspired me on. I was like, okay, then I need to change. If there's something that's within my control and I can change it, then I can't change my height, but I can change my physical prowess. So that's I got into it to try and excel in my sport, which was soccer.
So why I bring that up, and why I bring that up, is because people will look at you now and think, this lad looks incredible, and they'll just think you've looked like this your whole life. But that's not the case. You were a small, very slight lad growing up. You didn't have a lot of muscle. You were quite skinny, and you've turned yourself into this. What advice would you have for young lads and young girls who they don't have a lot of muscle mass on their frame, and they want to get bigger, but they don't think it's possible.
Well, first of all, it is possible. I'm living proof. Second of all, look, like we were talking about earlier, if you're going to do it, like, and you want to do it, you have to stick to it. So I would say one of the first things you need to do is, if it's you're only going to build muscle through lifting weights, obviously, not through running. So if you're going to be lifting weights, like, pick exercises, a train and split. Just like, you have to do stuff, I think, especially initially, to get the buy-in. They need to enjoy it. So there's no point in someone doing a program that they hate. Let's say I fucking think squats are a great exercise for people, but like, if you genuinely despise squatting and you're not going to do it, it's turning you away from going and training your legs, then don't do squats. Don't do them. Find something else. Do split squats. You probably hate them too. Do lunges. Do fucking leg presses.
Don't train legs with first.
Just find alternatives, but that would be the first, because you're not going to get into shape and build muscle if you don't stick to it and go there. That'd be the first thing. Find a training split modality that you enjoy and then stick to it, at least to get the initial buy-in. Then also, you're gonna have to, a lot of people, you've probably heard this a lot over, especially from young people who are skinny, they say like, I can't get bigger, I can't build muscle, like, no matter how much I eat. And to that I say, bullshit. Bullshit. Just, you need to eat more food. You need to eat more protein, you need to eat more calories. And if you're consistently eating more food and more calories, and you're not getting bigger, you're not growing, your weight's not increasing on the scale, then you need to eat more.
Do you know what the problem is there?
Tell me.
Key word you said, consistently. A lot of guys I've trained a few skinny lads and gotten them a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. A lot of their problem themselves they're having is that they know they need to eat more. So what they do is they eat way too much for one day. But then they're so full they struggle to eat even at their maintenance for the following few days. So there's huge peaks and troughs with their calorie intake, no consistency. Whereas a lot of them, I get to just slight surplus and do that consistently, and then you'll adapt that, and then we can increase again. So it's just having a more strategic approach, not this just like shotgun approach where like dominoes, lab kicks, eat too much, feel sick, don't eat anything for the next day or two. Who was guilty of that was Chris O'D. He came to me, he was very skinny, very scrawny. In 2.5 years, bodybuilding champion. So he had the same. I'd say that's a big problem for a lot of people who struggle to actually gain size.
So then, what I said is pretty general. I mean, I'm telling you to eat more calories and eat more protein, and if you're not over time increasing, then you need to eat more. What Biggie's saying is more specific and is actually a good piece of advice. I never did that, so I guess I can't relate to that. But
you didn't do that?
No, I didn't do the where I eat way too much. No, right. It was always like, okay, we're going to go from, let's say, into a surplus, stay there at into a slight surplus or whatever, 300-400 calories above.
Yeah. Stay there.
Weigh yourself. If your weight's not going up, increase your calories by 150 to 200 or maybe a bit more, and eventually they'll go up from like 2,500 to maybe over 4,000. For one stage, for me, that's what was happening. So yeah, obviously knowing the calorie intake, and for a beginner, if I'm going to relay it back again, it does pay to track and to know what you're taking in, because when you need to make those adjustments, if you're not familiar, you can definitely eyeball them. And I don't know if you've been tracking for this period. Have you been eyeballing a lot? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've been so for someone like Biggie, and I would be confident enough that I could do this myself through all the years that I put in of eyeballing and tracking. But if you've never done that before and you're a beginner, you're going to need to just
follow the rules at the beginning.
Exactly. So that's interesting. You've been able to put on 14, 15 kilos in whatever the time frame has been.
Since last year, anyways. This time last year.
From not tracking, just from intuitively eating more, and you've been weighing yourself, checking in with the weight to see kind of what's happening. Yeah. Good. I wouldn't recommend that to a lot of people, purely unless they had gone through.
What we did.
Yeah.
I like to think tracking calories. I like to think of it like learning how to ride a bike. You have the stabilizers on. Mm-hmm. When you're learning how to ride a bike, I think that's what tracking calories is. And once it's served its purpose, you can take the stabilizers off, you can now ride a bike. Like, it's not like you stop tracking calories and then you just go back to doing what you're doing before. It's like, no, you learned a lot about food, portion sizes, and you've developed some habits with your eating. You're probably snacking a lot less. You have like 3 square meals a day. They include like a certain size amount of protein, carbs and fats at each meal. And like you learn that while you're tracking calories. Then you stop tracking calories, you still have these habits and the knowledge you've learned from it.
It's the same shit. It's the same, like the meal structure. It's just, okay, I just need to eat a bit more. I need to add some more into this, more rice or whatever it is, more oats or whatever. I was going to just say something else actually. Another good piece of advice that I can think of for beginners, men and women, is make sure you're training hard. So what I mean by that is, you see a lot of like young people, especially starting out, and they train. They're getting their information from wherever, and they're training like they're doing high enough volume, lots of sets, lots of reps in the tank, not really taking sets too close towards failure and stuff. I think they would be much better off in doing less volume, doing 2 to 3 hard sets. Over time, I think increasing to 3. But even at the beginning, if they were just doing 2 hard sets, taking a set close enough to failure, and then moving on, you get far more out of your training, and you'd make progress a lot quicker than you would if you were just doing multiple sets, like really high volume, loads of different exercises and loads of reps in the tank. I think training effort and intensity, bringing sets closer to failure. Even when I was maybe younger, I probably would have started to do that maybe a little sooner than I did. I think I would have made more progress quicker. But yeah,
I can speak to that because that was something I was very guilty of at the start. I wanted to change how I looked. I wanted to grow more muscle, so I went into the gym and tried to do every exercise under the sun for that body part, because I didn't want to leave anything on the table. But little did I know I was shooting myself in the foot, and when I started to pull the volume back, I started to make more progress. And something to touch on that even more, I credit a lot of the way I look and a lot of how I train from the time you and I trained together, and I just followed what you were doing, and you were just doing top and back off sets that involved just 2 sets for a given exercise, and a top set might be a rep range, a heavy set for like 6 to 8 reps, a weight that's challenging for that rep range, and then a back off set is a set that might be 12 to 15 plus reps and using a weight that's challenging for that. But really what you're doing is you're doing 2 sets, you're picking the weight you're picking that's challenging, and you're taking it to failure. That was so beneficial for my training going forward, because I learned what failure was. I learned what 100% is. We know that you actually don't need to train to failure.
No.
You can leave 2 to 3 reps in the tank. You'll get the exact same results as training to failure. The results might even be better from leaving 2 to 3 reps in the tank. However, a lot of people don't know. I didn't know. You probably didn't know. A lot of people don't know what 100% is. So telling people to leave 2 to 3 reps in the tank when they don't know what 100% is, they might leave 5-10 reps in the tank. So that's why that period training with you, training hard is a skill you have to develop. I certainly started to develop it then when I was training with you, and that's carried on my training for since then until now. And that's why I don't feel like my training and my progress has slowed down. If anything, I feel like I'm making more and more progress each year as I go, and I'm 13 years lifted,
which is mad. Yeah,
it's supposed to be the opposite, but it just goes to show you're always learning. And when you're a student, you're always learning. You don't know everything, and it's great when you don't know everything, because that means there's always room for improvement. But to bring it back to training hard, it's a great point. A lot of the time you want to change how you look. You think you need to do way more than you need to do, but in actuality, you need to do a lot less, but just improve the quality of what you're doing. So that's improving your technique, improving your execution. And when I say execution technique, I mean like mastering full range of motion, tempo, and then making sure you're accurate within your sets so that you're hitting the intended target muscle groups. And then once you've got that down, once the technique and execution is nailed, then start trying to progress in that lift week to week. And even though you're doing a lot less on paper, the results you'll get are going to be far greater.
Yeah, and then they can add volume over time.
Yeah.
Like what is, you were saying that you've started, I've been doing, I don't do, usually I rarely anymore do, sometimes I do, depends on how I'm feeling, but I'll not always do just 2 working sets. I'll actually do a 3rd working set sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So adding in that extra one, where the first 1 or 2 might not have been as close, they might not have been as close to failure, but I'm still able to do a 3rd set and take it very far. So it's just like an evolution of that kind of training.
Yeah.
Adding in volume over time. But the beginner, someone who's trying to get bigger, they're much better off doing less, pushing it further, at least for now, and then over time you can start to add in an extra set here, but you need to learn what it's like to actually take a set far in the first place.
Which is what I love about the new program you and I created for the Blueprint, the Build program, where we've integrated a lot of this into each 6-week phase of the plan.
Yeah. That's the build program is going to be like for people, ladies as well,
for both men and women,
looking to like build muscle, basically build muscle and get bigger.
Do it in a way that's like a lean gain as well, not just like when people hear bulk or get bigger, they automatically think they're just going to get fat.
No, we don't. That's not the way we set up the way we want the nutrition protocol to go. That's not it.
A good way to wrap this up is that a lot of what we spoke about is a lot of the reason why Cian and I partnered up together. Our past 8 years each coaching people in person and our experience as bodybuilders, we've brought that in, combined our heads and created a program based on all of that while keeping sustainability in mind, which is one of the reasons I love the Blueprint. I love what it offers people. Like, imagine buying a program and you don't just get the program is created by bodybuilders and qualified coaches, and you get to check in with those coaches every day if you wish. If you're unsure of something, you can text into WhatsApp and one of us will get back to you. And what's also cool is with your program, you also have a library of videos that are all done in a systemized fashion, teaching you about the process of what you're doing. So that's the education that you need in order to, one, get the result, but more importantly, this is the education is what's going to allow you to keep the result, because we're essentially giving you the toolkit that it's taken, I don't know how many years of us to require this toolkit, and just, it's all the stuff you need. It's done by us, broken down into very simple layman's terms so a monkey could understand everything we're teaching. And that's what we offer you in this program, as well as just handing you a plan and giving you accountability. You have that education as well. So we're going into that because Cian and I, it's not something we plug a lot. We're actually not too comfortable with plugging our own services half the time. If you want to work with us, it's usually like you reach out to us. There's never, we barely tell people what we do. We definitely don't cold DM people. I never will. We definitely don't do that. But we are extremely passionate about what we do, and we're very good at what we do. So,
and we give a fuck.
And we care. And we really do care. So if changing your body and doing it in a way where you want to be as efficient as possible, you want to give yourself the best chance at succeeding, and you want this to be the last time you ever need to work with a coach again, then I would say we're a pretty good bet if you want to hire us as your coaches and reach out to us. And if you do want to do that, we'll leave the link below this video, and you can book a call. The good thing about this as well is we know that you might want to know a little bit more about the program and a little bit more about what we offer, and if it's the right fit for you, then you can actually just schedule a call with both Cian and I on a time and day that suits all of us, and we'll talk you through everything for about 30 minutes, and that's completely free of charge. And yeah, I think that was a pretty good talk.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that too. Alhamdulillah. Brennan, let's go enjoy the rest of our time here in Saudi.
Let's do that, and let's have one of these conversations again in the not so distant future.
Yeah, and we will try not to get sidetracked as much and go on too many tangents.
It's fine. It happens. We have a lot to say.
There was a lot unsaid there.
Next time.
Alright, people. Thanks for tuning in. Nobody's watching, but that's okay.
I hope you enjoyed. For those of you who did get this far.
Yeah. Shukran. Habibi.